I never thought I'd be sitting across from my boss at a candlelit dinner, watching her laugh at my jokes and looking at me like I was more than just the IT guy who fixed her computer problems. But life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. James Sullivan stared at his laptop screen, the blue light illuminating his tired face in the darkness of his small apartment. The clock on his nightstand read 1:37 a.m., but sleep wasn't coming tonight. His 7-year-old daughter Lily was finally asleep after a nightmare had woken her an hour earlier. These moments of quiet were rare and precious, even if they came in the middle of the night. He scrolled through another dating profile, wincing at his awkward smile in the photos his friend Mark had insisted on taking. Recently divorced single dad seeking. The cursor blinked mockingly at him. How did you sum up your life in a paragraph when everything had changed so dramatically in the past year? How did you tell strangers that you were still figuring out how to be both mom and dad to a little girl who missed her mother every day? James deleted the half-written profile for the third time that week. Dating seemed impossible with his schedule, working full-time at Horizon Marketing while juggling school pickups, soccer practice, and trying to cook something other than mac and cheese at least twice a week. The divorce had been finalized 6 months ago, but it felt like he was still finding his footing on this new, unsteady ground. His phone buzzed with a calendar notification, budget meeting with Victoria, 9 a.m. James groaned. Victoria Chen, the newly appointed creative director at Horizon, had scheduled an early meeting to discuss the quarterly budget for his department. In the 3 months since she'd joined the company, she'd developed a reputation for being brilliant but demanding. The dark circles under his eyes would be even more pronounced tomorrow. Morning came too quickly. After dropping Lily off at school with a hurried kiss and a reminder about Grandma picking her up later, James rushed into the office clutching his coffee like a lifeline. "You look like hell, Sullivan," remarked Diane from accounting as they rode the elevator together. "Thanks for noticing," he replied with a tired smile. "Late night with Lily. How's she doing?" "Better. The nightmares aren't as frequent now." He took a long sip of his coffee. "But we're managing." The elevator doors opened to the 14th floor, and James made his way to the conference room. Victoria was already there, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, typing rapidly on her laptop. She looked up when he entered, her expression unreadable. "Good morning, James. I was beginning to wonder if you'd make it." He glanced at his watch, 8:57. "I'm early, actually." A slight smile crossed her face. "So you are. Force of habit, I suppose. My last marketing manager was perpetually late." She gestured to the chair beside her. "Shall we begin?" The meeting went surprisingly well. Victoria was thorough but fair in her assessment of his department's needs. As they wrapped up, she closed her laptop and turned to him with an unexpected question. "This is somewhat unorthodox, but I could use your perspective on something personal." James blinked in surprise. "Of course." Victoria hesitated, something he hadn't seen her do before. "I've recently moved to the city and don't know many people outside of work. A friend suggested I try online dating, but I'm finding it challenging to create a profile that doesn't sound like a corporate resume." James couldn't help but laugh. "I was literally struggling with the same thing at 2 in the morning." Her eyebrows rose. "You're on dating apps?" "Trying to be," he admitted. "Not very successfully." "Perhaps we could help each other," she suggested. "An outside perspective might be valuable." That's how James found himself staying after hours that Friday, sitting beside Victoria in her office as they looked at her dating profile on her tablet. "Dedicated professional seeking meaningful connection," he read aloud. "It does sound like a LinkedIn profile." Victoria sighed. "That bad?" "Not bad, just formal. Like you're interviewing candidates rather than looking for a date." "Isn't that essentially what dating apps are? A series of interviews with romantic potential?" James smiled. "Maybe, but you might want to sound a little more approachable." What do you enjoy doing outside of work? Victoria seemed to consider this carefully. I play the cello. I hike when I can get out of the city. I'm learning to cook Thai food, though my apartment has smelled like lemongrass for weeks. That's perfect, James said, taking the tablet. May I? She nodded, and he began typing. Classical musician by night, marketing maven by day. We'll trade homemade pad Thai for good conversation and hiking recommendations in the Pacific Northwest. Victoria read it over his shoulder. That's actually quite good. Now for photos. The corporate headshot has to go. What's wrong with it? Nothing, if you're applying for a CEO position. Everything, if you're trying to get a date. They spent the next hour revamping her profile, James offering suggestions while Victoria alternated between reluctant agreement and thoughtful consideration. He learned she had moved from Chicago for this position, leaving behind a 10-year relationship that had fizzled out. She was 36, loved obscure documentaries, and had a cat named Chairman Meow. Your turn, she said when they'd finished with her profile. Let me see yours. James hesitated. It's pretty pathetic. I showed you mine, she reminded him with a smile that transformed her usually serious face. He pulled up his half-completed profile on his phone. Victoria read it silently, then looked up at him. There's no mention of your daughter. I wasn't sure if I should lead with that. Some women see single dad and run for the hills. Victoria's expression softened. Anyone worth your time wouldn't. Under her guidance, James created a profile that felt honest without being heavy. IT specialist and full-time dad to an amazing 7-year-old. We're a package deal that comes with decent cooking skills, an encyclopedic knowledge of Disney princesses, and a genuine belief that the right person is still out there. As they finished, James realized it was past 8 o'clock. I should get going. The babysitter will be wondering if I fell into a manhole. Victoria nodded, standing to gather her things. Thank you for your help, James. This was unexpectedly enjoyable. It was, he agreed, surprised to find he meant it. As they walked to the elevator together, Victoria turned to him with an expression he couldn't quite read. You know, we've spent all this time creating these profiles, but I'm still not convinced online dating is the right approach. Having second thoughts? She smiled, and there was something different in it, something warmer and less guarded than he'd seen before. Why not take me out instead? We could be each other's first date back in the world of romance. James stared at her, certain he'd misheard. You want to go out with me? Is that so surprising? We get along well, you're clearly a dedicated father, and... She paused. I find your perspective refreshing. The elevator arrived with a soft ding, but neither moved to enter it. What about company policy? He asked. I checked. There's nothing against dating between departments as long as there's no direct reporting relationship. You report to Marcus in IT, not to me. James found himself smiling. In that case, Victoria Chen, I'd be honored to take you out. Their first date was at a small Italian restaurant where the owner knew James by name and brought Lily extra breadsticks whenever they visited. Victoria arrived wearing a deep blue dress that made her look softer somehow, less like the intimidating executive and more like the woman who played cello and had a cat with a punny name. No Lily tonight? She asked as they were seated. She's with my parents. They have her every other weekend. He hesitated. I hope it's okay that I told her I was having dinner with you. She's very curious about my life outside of dad mode. What did she say? James laughed. She asked if you were pretty and if you liked unicorns. I said yes to the first question and admitted I didn't know about the second. For the record, unicorns are acceptable mythical creatures, Victoria said with mock seriousness. Though I've always been partial to phoenixes. The conversation flowed easily. Victoria told him about growing up as the daughter of Chinese immigrants in Chicago, the pressure to succeed, and her rebellion in the form of studying arts instead of medicine or law. James shared stories of Lily's birth, the gradual unraveling of his marriage, and the terrifying, exhilarating journey of becoming a single parent. "She sounds wonderful," Victoria said when he showed her a photo of Lily missing her 2 front teeth and grinning widely. "She's everything," James replied simply. "My ex-wife," she decided parenthood wasn't what she expected. Said she felt trapped, that she'd lost herself. She moved to Europe with her yoga instructor 6 months after the divorce. Victoria's hand covered his on the table. "I'm sorry. Don't be. It was hard, but it's better this way. Lily deserves parents who want to be parents, even if that means just one fully committed one instead of 2 half-hearted ones." As the evening progressed, James found himself increasingly drawn to Victoria's quiet confidence and unexpected humor. When she laughed, really laughed, it transformed her entire face. "I have a confession," she said as they shared a tiramisu. "I've never actually been on a dating app. I made up that story because I wanted an excuse to spend time with you outside of work." James nearly choked on his dessert. "You what?" She looked slightly embarrassed. "I noticed you that first week, how you always brought coffee for Diane in accounting because her arthritis makes it hard for her to carry things, how you never took credit for fixing the presentation when the sales team's projector failed. You were different from what I expected." "And what did you expect? IT guys are usually..." She searched for the right word. "Less personable." James laughed. "That's the nicest way anyone's ever called my profession, socially awkward. You know what I mean. You care about people, not just computers." Their first date turned into a second, then a third. Victoria met Lily over ice cream in the park, answering her rapid-fire questions about unicorns, favorite colors, and whether she knew how to braid hair. Yes, but only the simple kind. To James's surprise, Lily and Victoria formed a bond almost immediately. Victoria never tried to replace Lily's mother but created her own relationship with the girl, bringing her books about strong women throughout history and teaching her simple cello pieces when she expressed interest. Their relationship wasn't without challenges. Victoria's job demanded long hours and occasional travel. James's priority would always be Lily, which meant cancelled dates when she was sick and school events that couldn't be missed. They navigated these waters carefully, learning to communicate and compromise. For months after their first date, Victoria was helping Lily with a science project in James's kitchen when he found himself watching them from the doorway, a strange feeling of contentment washing over him. Victoria looked up and caught his eye, smiling in a way that made his heart skip. Later that night, after Lily was asleep and they sat together on his small balcony sharing a bottle of wine, Victoria leaned her head against his shoulder. "I never thought I'd be here," she said softly. "On a balcony in Seattle?" She playfully swatted his arm. "With a man and his daughter, feeling like I've found something I didn't even know I was looking for." James turned to face her. "And what were you looking for?" "Purpose beyond work. Connection. A family, maybe." She looked up at him. "Is that too much to say?" He shook his head, pulling her closer. "Not at all. Lily adores you. And I." He paused, the words catching in his throat. Victoria waited, her eyes never leaving his face. "I love you," he finally said. "I wasn't looking for this either, but here we are." She kissed him then, soft and sure. "Here we are indeed." 6 months later, Victoria moved into their apartment, bringing Chairman Meow and her cello. The cat and Lily became inseparable companions, and the apartment was often filled with the sound of Victoria teaching Lily simple melodies. James's parents, initially concerned about him dating his boss, despite his repeated explanations about reporting structures, were won over by Victoria's genuine care for Lily and the happiness she brought to their son's life. On Lily's 8th birthday, Victoria presented her with a handmade book titled The Princess and the Phoenix, illustrated with Victoria's surprisingly good drawings. It told the story of a brave princess who befriended a magical bird that had risen from the ashes of its former life to begin anew. The last page showed the princess, the phoenix, and a knight all holding hands. "Is the phoenix you?" Lily asked, tracing the colorful bird with her finger. Victoria nodded. "Sometimes life burns down what we thought we wanted, but something new and beautiful can grow from those ashes." Lily looked thoughtful. "Like how Mommy left, but then we got you instead." James felt his throat tighten as Victoria carefully answered, something like that. "But I'm not replacing your mom. I'm just adding more love to your life, if that's okay with you." Lily considered this, then nodded solemnly. "It's okay. Dad smiles a lot more now." A year after their first date, on a hike through the mountains Victoria had come to love, James proposed. Lily was part of the plan, carrying the ring in her pocket and giving it to him at just the right moment as they reached a viewpoint overlooking the city. Victoria said yes through tears, hugging both James and Lily tightly as the sun set behind them. Their wedding was small, just family and close friends gathered in James's parents' backyard. Lily was the flower girl, taking her duties so seriously that she practiced for weeks. Victoria wore a simple cream dress with blue flowers in her hair, and James couldn't take his eyes off her as she walked toward him. In their vows, Victoria spoke directly to both James and Lily. "I promise to be your partner, your friend, your confidant. I promise to respect the past that shaped you both while helping to build our future together. I promise to love you on the easy days and the impossible ones." James's voice shook as he responded, "I promise to remind you that there's life outside of work, to make you laugh when you take yourself too seriously, and to love you completely. You helped me believe in second chances, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret giving us one." As they celebrated into the evening, dancing under strings of lights in the backyard, James held his new wife close and marveled at how differently his life had turned out than he'd expected. "What are you thinking?" Victoria asked, noticing his expression. "I'm thinking about that night I was struggling with my dating profile, feeling like I'd never find someone who would accept me and Lily as a package deal." He smiled. "And now here we are." Victoria's eyes shone in the soft light. "All because I needed help with a dating profile I didn't actually have." "Best technical support I ever provided," James laughed, spinning her around as Lily danced circles around them, her flower crown slightly askew. 3 years later, their family grew with the arrival of twins, a boy and a girl who had Victoria's dark eyes and James's unruly hair. Lily took her role as big sister seriously, reading to the babies and helping with feedings. Victoria had been promoted to chief marketing officer but insisted on a work schedule that allowed her to be home for dinner most nights. James had started his own IT consulting business that gave him the flexibility to manage school pickups and doctor appointments. Their life wasn't perfect. The apartment was too small for 5 people and a cat, the twins rarely slept through the night, and they still argued occasionally about Victoria's tendency to check work emails at the dinner table. But it was real and rich and full of the kind of love that grows stronger through challenges rather than despite them. On their 5th anniversary, as they finally got the children to sleep and collapsed onto the couch together, Victoria pulled out her phone and showed James something that made him laugh out loud. "You didn't." "I did," she confirmed, showing him the dating profile she'd created for them as a couple. "5 years ago today, you helped me fix a dating profile that didn't exist, and I found everything I never knew I was looking for." The profile read, "Happily married couple with 3 amazing kids, 1 shedding cat, and a life built on second chances. Not actually looking for dates, just wanted to remember where our story began." James pulled her close, kissing her softly. "Best technical glitch of my life." "I love our story," Victoria whispered against his lips. "Me too," he replied. "Every unexpected chapter of it." As they sat together in the quiet of their home, surrounded by